Hello, everybody, and welcome to another amazing episode and a brilliant guest, I have to say. Absolutely fantastic. To Sphere of Being, which is all about caring for those that care for others. And it's very important, as we know, to keep ourselves overflowing with energy and abundance so that we can give from a full vessel. It's very I'd say it's very difficult for us in an holistic way, a healthy way, to give from an empty tank. So we're always looking for special guests on the show that do what they say on the tin. And here today we have Neil Linford-Relph. Now, this gentleman is quite superb within the creative design space of AI. He has helped the likes of Barclaycard, especially designing their iPhone app from scratch. It was an amazing project. He's helped with the likes of McKinsey at very high level and Accenture. So what Neil doesn't know about this is nobody's business. He is a regular public speaker. He is a renowned authority on his chosen subject. And it's an absolute privilege today to have Neil on the podcast talking about how we care for ourselves as business leaders, how important it is to put us front and center of how we make sure that we're okay so that we can lead others creatively with passion and getting the end result. And often, as people will be taking Neil on board in uncharted territory, which can always seem a bit scary and a bit, the fear of the unknown, really. So, Neil, welcome. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on the Sphere of Being podcast.
Thank you, Deborah. Very kind of you to invite me on, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Thank you for your kind introduction.
No problem at all. Credit where it's due. And one of the things that I know that our listeners really love, and I love to hear it too, is to hear a little bit about the person behind Neil, the person that makes you tick. How do you think about things? What it is that lights your fire? And a little bit about, I know it's a lot of questions, but a lot about your journey as to what got you involved with what you do now.
Um, well, yeah, but wonderful to share, and thank you for the question. It makes you think about the things that have taken you to the space that you are. I would say actually, and it's quite an exciting week for me, is that I'm actually going back to my old university to help lecture next week, which is a fantastic journey. And I studied typography and graphic communication at Reading, which really set me up, graduating back in '97. So the time of New Labour and Britpop. But it gave me an understanding from there about, and we learned about the history of design. We learned about how technology had changed from the origin of printing through the Industrial Revolution to the modernist times, and I think that kind of understanding really set me up for, I guess, going into the exciting time that I graduated into, which was the dot-com boom, where everything was new, where nobody really knew what to do. We also had desktop publishing. Again, it was an amazing time of change. It was challenging the end of, or people were saying this is the death of the book, and well, obviously it wasn't. But all of this kind of change and innovation was really at the start of my career, and that really set the path. Where getting involved in this, you went from being graduating into doing senior roles for exciting projects. I ended up in financial services. Then I had the opportunity to go and live and work in Dublin for some amazing companies, and they had the fantastic time of the Celtic Tiger going on there, which was a huge economic boom. And I worked for this wonderful company called Web Factory and created the websites for Eircell, who were the mobile phone network there. And during that time, then they were acquired by Vodafone. So helping that Irish brand transition into Vodafone was one of my first kind of huge tasks. And what I brought to that from, I guess, the typography side of things was to actually bring structure around design. I was taught about, the structure and the formulas and the hierarchies and the style guides of traditional printing. And that dot-com boom, it was all about programming and it was all about that. And I brought that kind of design integrity to bringing those things together. And that was a fantastic time. I also enjoyed my time in Dublin. And as I said, I had a reasonably successful career as a racing cyclist and raced in Ireland and even competed in the Irish National Championships, which was an adventure to be part of. So that was exciting. Then I guess skipping over a few things, I came back to London and joined a wonderful company called Conchango, and this was the time of Web 2.0. This was when we were getting apps, when social media was starting, when websites stopped being kind of brochure parallel to the fact that we were transitioning services, we were digitizing services, and that kind of came from Barclaycard, where the transformation was like, people remember when you had a credit card, you used to kind of like get a little brown envelope come through your letterbox once a month and they'd let you know how much you'd spent. And you'd never really know up until that point, and you were just hoping it was good news rather than bad. We transitioned that to being something you were on. It was there all the time. You could log in, you could see where your status was. And the fantastic team that we had at Conchango, we developed or introduced the data visualization for the credit card. So you could see how much money you had, what your credit limit was. We were all about trying to make sure you didn't get overdrawn. And also we looked at the acquisition, for Barclaycard, why do people want credit cards? And we were 30 something. So we were the customers, and we were getting married. We were having kids. We were moving houses and we needed money. So it was almost like the most ultimate form of customer feedback because we were the people using those products. And rather than talking about APRs and products, we said to Barclaycard, you need to look at the life moment. You need to understand why people are doing this. Do they need money to move forward in life? Are they transferring balances? And bringing that whole kind of customer center to it. And what I still find is amazing that is that how many people have actually used that? How many people we helped see their money differently, to gain control of that, to be able to kind of understand, and this changed people's lives, and I think we were all really passionate about doing this, and I think that kind of set the tone for everything that I've done. Now, I didn't realize at the time that was probably going to be one of the most wonderful and huge projects. Just kind of like thought, well, this is what life is like. But also, what was really interesting there is that we grew and grew the project from what was initially like a couple of weeks to being an entire team that we had. So we had a huge team in London. We ended up getting a contract permanently with Barclaycard. So we were kind of like almost the first in-house banking team, really setting the precedent. If you look at banks nowadays, everybody's got a design department, and a lot of the people that actually used to work on, I had the joy of collaborating with at Barclays, in my team. I can see you're working in these banks and they're kind of leading that way. And it makes me feel, I guess kind of humbled and a little bit proud that, we made some of those, great things happen. And, I guess what we started has continued. And then from that, we did get the opportunity to, Barclays were the big sister of Barclaycard, obviously, and because of what we'd done, we got the team got the opportunity to design the Barclays iPhone app. And we introduced the data visualization from there. I'm always proud to say that we had a lot of conversations about what color is credit, what color is debt, what do blues and greens. And so even when I look at my own bank account now, the blue and the green decisions, that was something that I made with my team. So it's kind of, I think I was at a talk yesterday when they were talking about customer servicing, and they had like they were talking about the Barclays app, and it was like the most successful one that being used. Is kind of, oh my God, I helped create that. It is humbling to be able to have been a part of that, to know that I've created something that millions of people have used, and that was never an intention. We just got the brief and we just did it the best that we could. And I think that's really set the precedent of what I really care about. It's the end user, and user-centered design has become a huge thing. But it's not so much about what you create as an end product. It's the behaviors and the experience that you create that beyond that. So what we did with the financial services was not so much about, okay, we've created this cool thing that people can understand the banks, is that if we empower people to use money better, if we gave them opportunities to, have great experiences, to get out of debt, to all of these kind of things, that's why we did it. That's what we care about. And I feel that the power of design to do something really useful is there. And then I, went on a career path to do that. Having brought Barclaycard together, I had the opportunity to go and get involved in this wonderful project at UBS. Where or UBS Investment Bank, and I actually walked past the office yesterday, which is yeah, and it was they realized that the traditional world of investment banking had changed. They were bringing together everything that they did, so the trading, the analytics, the sales, an enterprise network, into one single application called UBS Neo. And I joined the project a few months into it, where they'd come up with this vision, but then we had this huge team, 30 UX designers on site in Liverpool Street. And obviously there's so many wonderful creative minds there, but the thing had started looking like the project of 30 different people. So it was my unenviable task to make it look like one thing again. And that was 2 years to do that. And it was such a precise piece, the data analytics. I mean, and AI was happening then. People think AI is new. The investment banks and healthcare, they've been using AI for ages. It's just that with generative AI, we're starting with that. But that really changed the behavior, because obviously investment banks, so much of the trading is done by computers. So how do you get what is the role of the human in that? The connect and the catchphrase for UBS was connected intelligence, because all the insights, the understandings of the financial networks, that was where the people really added value. It wasn't on the trading on the floors, because so much of that is being taken over with algorithms. So trying to bring things together, trying to get the human value within the investment bank, it was a huge behavioral change. What is the role of an investment banker? And I feel that being able to deal with that level of change in what is quite a competitive environment has kind of made me open to the opportunities that we now have in AI. And there were fascinating design challenges as well within that. Little did we know that color blindness amongst alpha males, which are the predominant people that do investment banking, is very prevalent. So when you're designing an interface where you can't guarantee people are seeing the color, that creates a very interesting design challenge.
I just have to say, that is spooky. And the fact that that study was even done and thought of to do shows a creative brain in the first place. Who would have thought that alpha male have a higher percentage of color blindness? Which colors couldn't they distinguish between?
I don't have that detail.
I think there's a couple of common ones, isn't there? But very interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, that was that. And then I guess from those kind of, being hands-on and actually creating these things and getting them over the line, the consultancies were then, all of the consultancies now have design teams. There's a digital part, IBM, Deloitte, EY, or everybody has digital teams. And they were realizing they needed to build the capability because going in and doing the change that is necessary for organizations like that, be it Accenture first was my opportunity, and then McKinsey, was to help these large corporations think differently. And a lot of that was about the cultural change of the businesses. If you've got a large corporation and they've been set up and they've been structured in a certain way, you have all of your different departments. And you might even find, say, a lot of the banks, sometimes, when you ring up a large corporation and you say, I've got this product with you and I've got this product with you. People go, why do you not understand? Why are you not listening to me? Why do you not care about this? And it's not the people on the phone's fault. It's the fact that the IT systems have been set up around the products. So they don't have a single view of the customer. They don't know. They know you that team knows you've got a product there. This team knows you've got a product there. Then you've got IT separate from credit control, from sales, from marketing, all of these cultural departments, which you can refer to as silos if you're being challenging. Getting those people to talk to each other because of the way that technology and digital, opportunities have happened, and people are continually in connection with organizations where you've got this kind of like joined up view, but also it's the social media has meant it's a conversational relationship. So you could feed back immediately. You could say what you felt about a customer experience, and you knew that people would see it. So there was this continual feedback. So the behaviors of an organization couldn't be, okay, you write a letter of complaint to somebody and you might get some conversation. You might get, now, if you're unhappy, everybody can see that and everybody can feed back. And this was a completely new dynamic, which was, difficult for businesses to understand. So, and again, this is change. And with these with those large consultancies, we will go in and help them try to innovate. But there was a pattern to how they did this, and the pattern was bringing people from cross capabilities together and workshopping. And I still use these kind of patterns and processes to start the projects that I do. I think there was one from Accenture where we were helping to write the customer experience principles for Bank of Ireland. And Bank of Ireland's a really interesting organisation because it's part of the national identity of Ireland, isn't it? And it was also nice for me to go back to Dublin 10, 15 years later because I was a soft spot to the place, or a bit of it in my heart. I'm probably always a bit Dublin or a Dubliner. It was part of their national identity. You had generations working in the bank. It was on the high street. It was on the rugby jersey, But how did they relate to their customers with these new digital banks coming in? What was their role? What did they want to be known for? And having that conversation then set the precedent of the direction. So, I think it was easy to do banking with that they went with. So that was kind of, so any decision that they made got pulled back to the principles, got pulled back to the customer experience principles. And I think if you've got that as a central focus, as a test to what you're doing, where okay, that's fantastic. And we had something similar at Barclaycard, which was at the time owning the world of simple payments. So we could have lots of fantastic ideas, but I'd say to the team, does that help us own the world of simple payments? Does that mean it's easy to do business with if you talk about Bank of Ireland? And if it's not, then is it the right thing for us to do? And that help in decision making kind of is really good. So again, it's kind of, what do you believe in? What's your purpose? And that's what I call it nowadays. What's your business purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? What gets you out of bed in the morning? And we use that a lot with AI nowadays. It's kind of, well, what's the purpose of AI? AI is this fantastic platform, this fantastic tool. What do you want to do with it? What purpose do you have? Because it will start with a human idea if you're the person creating the service, if you're the business, and it will end up with a human experience at the other end. The technology just sits in the middle. It facilitates, it creates opportunities, it empowers you to do things. But it starts with a human idea and ends in the human experience, which will then feed back and etc. So we've always got to remember there are people at the end of everything that we're doing. And I think,
and I love that, Neil, because bringing in the human element within AI is, I think, such an important value system that you put into something that you're creating, because it is going to end up with a human experience. And that's excellent. And I'd like to hear a bit more about your work now. Thank you, because it's given us a beautiful, beautiful history as to the credibility and the experience and the wonderful things that you've done and your own creativity with what you bring to the party. It's definitely thinking outside the box. And a couple of things resonated with me is that purpose and that clarity, so that you don't get pulled off course and create something that's not fit for purpose. And I think we can all, in all walks of life, think about, are we fulfilling the purpose? Are we clear about what we want to achieve? And are we actually going off onto a tangent that's nice, but not necessarily what we want to go through? And it's actually looking at that purpose at the end of the day. Are we fulfilling the brief? And now I'd love for people to know a little bit about your business and so that you can describe that to them in terms of how you, which is all about caring for those that care for others, how you put people front and center of the work that you do, which can be sort of as quite beyond the human experience, but bringing the human element back.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm fortunate. I guess I've got two main parts to what I do now. There is the design delivery, design capability part of it, where I've been fortunate to work with a lot of exciting businesses, locally, to be it founders or developing founders or smaller businesses that are looking to, develop into being, larger businesses. So the process that I use is with those is very much focused, I guess, on starts with the purpose. What's the idea? What are you trying to create? And I've got a range of clients from sports, cybersecurity, e-commerce, healthcare. All of these kind of things are things that I'm working on. But it all starts with okay, what's the big idea? What are we trying to do here? And talk to the businesses about that. But quite often, actually, we talk about what's the customer value. And, I help develop persona types and personas, and people can think about that. People have very strong opinions about persona design. The way that I've found it working, or the biggest part of the value it adds, is not the end persona, because I don't create them. I just ask the questions. And facilitating the conversation about the actual, the person that you believe this service is for, that you want to help, the value that it will bring to their life, but also their journey to you. What at the point are they going to, reach out for you? Where do you become relevant? What will they do once, be it from a retail purpose, or from some of the cybersecurity stuff I'm doing, it's for education, and it's about retraining. But cybersecurity is the potentially the evil sister of AI. If you don't have cybersecurity, then digital data that you need to generate AI is a little bit more complicated. But understanding that this is a new career and this is like retraining. Well, what point do people get involved in, say, like one of these new skills? Be it from education, be it from retraining, be it from leaving the services, or even coming out of coming out of jail and finding a new career. And all of these are really important, and it's understanding that moment and how do you engage, and then how do you move these forward. And that project really came to life for me when we had that conversation. And as soon as both the client and myself were empowered by understanding what we're doing this for and why, websites, processes, engagement, all of those kind of things, and also how we talk about the project, becomes very, I guess we're all inspired by it, we're all excited by it, but we also have a focus that we can assess the things that we're deciding against. And also with those decisions that we make for any of the clients, there's understanding what technology we need to sit behind that, what do we need to service that, because one of the challenges I find for founders and for developing businesses is there's so many things you should subscribe to. CRMs and SEO and social media marketing, and they're all wonderful things, and the people that deliver them are all wonderful people. But how do you join those together? How do you actually have the holistic view of when each one of those will add the greatest value, which is important to you, which will add value to your business, which will add value to your customers? And if you don't have that holistic view, you can end up investing in an awful lot of things that you don't really need. And I think it's important that that if you have an idea of your purpose and you have an idea of the customer value, then you can really focus your efforts on building the business that you want, but also only investing your time, your effort, your money in those particular elements. And because change is happening so fast, so if you were to invest in a particular piece of technology to support your business, because we've got things like AI, because technology is investing in such a rapid rate, there's going to be a new and better thing in 6 months, isn't there? So anything you do, and it's a real at the center of what I say to my clients is you've got to make sure the doors are open. You can't put yourself in a silo. You can't fully commit. You have to test and learn as well. And luckily, with all of these wonderful subscription packages nowadays, you can test and learn. You can see if something works. I think I was listening to a podcast actually. It was Mo Gowda, who used to work for Google X, and he was talking about how they have a policy where they would test and learn small projects, going, okay, let's spend 5 grand on it. If it works, then we'll spend more. And then if that works, we'll spend more. But every single bit they test and learn, they didn't go back to management to ask for approval. He built a relationship with management to say, this is, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get developers to do this because it's actually going to cost the business more money if I take it back to senior management to get the approval. And also, we can't test and learn. We can't move as quickly as we need to. And I think, but that's about building a culture through business decisions, because then people are not frightened to have an idea because you can try it. And as long as I think that there's as and the I think the main driver he had for or the main statement he had for what you're allowed to do with innovation says you can do anything you like as long as it won't hurt the core business. And I think that's a really good sort of methodology to apply, I think, to all of our businesses nowadays. We've got to develop a culture where people are happy and confident to put ideas in that won't, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work. And, that's okay. But we need ideas, ideas, ideas. We need to try things. We need to move things forward. Um, and I think that is what I try and help businesses with. It's that leading with design thinking.
No,
Um,
dear, I'm going to just interject here because you said something which is really powerful. Now, as we're business leaders, a lot of people get hung up with failure, that they don't want to fail. I'd like to hear your thoughts on a paradigm shift way of thinking about trying something that doesn't work.
I think, I think so, there's a lot of things that if you don't, learning that something doesn't work isn't necessarily failing. It's actually learning that something doesn't work.
Yeah.
Uh, and you don't know that until you try. Just the same as if you were to, go on a journey and, you drive down a road and it turns out to be, a dead end, a cul-de-sac. Well, that's okay. That's fine. That's all right. Um, so now not to go down there again, and you'll remember that next time you go down that particular journey, and you also remember that the quicker way to do things. So I think if you see trying something that doesn't work not as failure, but as doing, as learning, I could have, I could look at, things that I've done that could have been failures. I could have taken jobs that I haven't been that successful, and is it that there was something fundamentally wrong with me about that? Or was it that it just wasn't the right place for me? It wasn't the right culture. It wasn't the right environment. It wasn't a place where I was going to succeed because I thought very differently and it didn't support me, or and it wasn't because it didn't want to support me. It's just that I needed a different environment to be the best version of myself. And I think is an attachment to saying there are no black and whites. It's kind of, I'm only here and able to talk about these kind of things now because I've made some bad choices, because I've had some things go wrong. Um, uh, as we spoke about before the call, so one of the main pivots about me actually taking this journey is that I developed epilepsy about 5, 6 years ago, and that they put down to stress. There wasn't anything specifically that happened. It was just, I think, the way I was living. Young family, um, trying to do a very high pressure, high profile job where success is expected. Um, and then trying to keep things of my own identity, as sort of like a racing cyclist, a sportsman. If I'm not training, if sport isn't part of my life, I feel like there's something missing, and I put pressure on myself to do that. So if you're going and you're feeling constantly anxious that you're not doing enough in every single part of your life, which
That's perfectionist syndrome. That comes from somewhere, doesn't it? And thank you for being so open, because what you've done is you've taken the myth that if you fail, you've gone wrong into something which we can talk about in the next podcast that we're going to do together, which is sphere of success, challenging adversity into those golden nuggets that we can learn from. But what I would say to anybody is out there, we're going into a realm now of different thinking, as you said, difference in design thinking. And we then have to adopt a different modality in ourselves, some of which we can have plain sailing, fantastic, some of which is going to be a bit stickier. And from listening to you, Neil, what I can see is you've got such a breadth of experience of having been and seen the hard stuff as well as the good stuff. And when you're in flow, you think, I'm invincible. I can do anything. And then when you're not, it's like, hang on a minute. What have I done? Have I got out of bed the wrong side today? Everything seems to come along with a brickbat, and you think, really? Well, yeah, because those are your opportunities to learn, really learn, dig deep and say, you know what, like Thomas Edison, it didn't work for the last hundredth time, but I'm going to do it again because I'm 100 times closer to getting it right. And
mm,
that's the thing. And with the whole beautiful design quality about the ethical value structure that you put in with your AI, this is something that I've been gleaning. And anybody, please do have a discussion with Neil. If you're thinking of going down this path, or if you've already gone down it and you're not so sure, or you need somebody with the breadth of experience to come along that's helped the big guys, but can distill that for smaller businesses as well, have a chat with Neil, because he'll be able to hold your hand in a way where he can say, well, I've done it, seen it, and got the t-shirt, in a way that you can put your whole valuable experience into somebody's over that phone call or over that Zoom chat, or however you like to get in touch, perhaps over a coffee, because this guy absolutely is 100% authentic. He's not out there to see how much he can get, scarper and disappear, and you think, what have I been left with? And this is a thing, coming back to that, how can you help people to understand what is good and what is bad in a market that they don't understand?
no, thank you. That's a wonderful, or a flattering kind of, you never know what people see in you until and I'm really, flattered and humbled that those are the things that you feel I've brought to this conversation. So
Oh,
thank
100%. You wouldn't be on if we didn't think that.
you.
Absolutely. Everybody we bring on is somebody who is leading at what they do. And whether that can be somebody very small and starting out a micro business, or somebody like yourself who's been dealt with the big guys, the big guns in the city, everybody has an authenticity that absolutely shines through. And we know that your values are completely aligned with our audience. So, yeah, I mean, and this is the thing, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of charlatans, as well as the nuggets of people like yourself out there that are true and do what they say on the tin. How can you help people to know a little bit more about, what, this person really isn't all they're cracked up to be? How can, especially when you don't know the ins and outs of something, you're having to be guided by somebody. Are there any tips or anything that you can give people on what to look out for and how people are coming across? Because you can sell a good story, but it's actually doing the do that really counts.
think I guess it's understanding the environment that somebody's come from. What do they need to do? Why are they? have they got something to sell to you? If you're a business or you're starting up, or if you're employing somebody, how do you, bring somebody into the right culture? I've done a lot of, interviewing and built teams and made, positive and less successful decisions on the people that you bring on board. Um, but I think it all comes back to values, and I genuinely feel that when you're working, building teams, building ecosystems, having that personal connection, having that shared set of values and set of purposes, which is not just about making money, because we need to make money to be successful, to feed our families, to um, food, roof, and family, and all of this kind of stuff. Is our fundamental, but really kind of understanding, okay, enjoying working with each other. If you connect on that level, I think looking for the positives and trying to build the relationship. And if you're in a position to then be selective, if you do have to work with people and you do have to bring people on board that you don't necessarily, you're not aligned, I think just trying to understand and have a level of empathy for what's put them in that space makes it a lot easier on yourself, sort of like going, okay, well, we're never going to see eye to eye, and that's okay. um but making sure that, and don't let it consume you, don't let that feeling kind of build up, because that moment will be over and you will move on, and that person hopefully will not be, impacting, or that business will not hopefully be impacting your life for much longer. And if you are surrounded by those things, try and find a different space to be, because life's a bit too short.
Oh, absolutely. And AI is here to help us with great value in our lives and give us that time back and help us be more and have more abundance. It's an incredible tool to be able to think of the future, and used in the right way, it can be the benefit of so many people in ways that we don't even realize half the time. So it's fantastic. And as we close, Neil, I'd love to hear from you, because this has been an extraordinarily interesting discussion. You've spoken with great truth and great value to the audience, and I thank you for that. How can people get hold of you?
Well, I mean, reach out. I mean, LinkedIn is always the best, and there's only one person with my name, so I'm not hard to find. And and then, through my business, the design business, but being a web designer, it's a bit of a builder's house. The website's not terribly up to date. But that's something I need to work on. But
Physician, heal thyself. Yeah.
but yeah, reach out that way. Probably LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best, and then, always happy to have a chat. Learn more about people's businesses, because I think one of the best bits of advice I was given when I started up my own business is business success is not about finding people to sell to. It's about having lots of conversations. As you and I did, we connected, we reached out, we had a one-to-one, and now we're having this chat, and you've connected me with some wonderful people as well. So that, I think that's the best thing to do, and I'm always happy to listen, to give insights to people, and hopefully that's the way I see that business communities grow. So yeah, if you're interested, if I've sparked some ideas, listening to this, and thank you for listening to this if you have, then yeah, please reach out. Always happy to have a chat.
Oh, thank you, Neil. And please do, as I said, you'll find a friend in Neil. He's very open, very honest, very clever. Your intelligence, I'm like, whoa. But that's fantastic and very clear, and puts things into layman's terms, which is something that I really need. So in this technology era, I'm like, oh, okay. But I've never once found with you, Neil, that you've gone off on a flight of fancy and I've no idea what you're talking about. You always bring things down to the way in which your audience can understand. So thanks for that. That's a great skill to have.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. I've really enjoyed this.
Oh, well done. Thank you so much. So have we. And everybody listening, thanks for tuning in. If you've liked what you've seen, please do be in touch with Neil. He's a great guy, just on a normal human being level. He's a great guy to talk to. You never know, if you're interested in cycling, that could be something that you want to have a chat about a little bit more. And as always, life is, it's serious business, being in business, absolutely, but there's always lighthearted and brevity as well, and it just brings the joy and creativity to the scene even more if we can have a bit of a laugh at the same time. So thanks so much for tuning in. Please do subscribe, like, share, comment. It'd be lovely to have your thoughts. And truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so, so much for being such wonderful support to me, the community. It's wonderful to have you as an audience. I feel truly blessed. And until the next time, carry on caring and speak to you very soon. Bye bye for now.